Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Masala Chai and Chess with Nisha. In yesterday's episode, I spoke of my coach Grandmaster Praveen Thipse and mentioned that he celebrated his birthday yesterday. Praveenji shares his birthday with another strong Indian Grandmaster Vishnu Prasanna. Let's wish Vishnu a belated happy birthday. Pravinji and Vishnu have one thing in common. They both are great coaches. While I have personally worked with Pravin sir and I know his methods of teaching, I have never discussed chess with Vishnu, but I have the utmost respect for him because he's not only worked with a lot of notable players, but most importantly, he has worked with Gukesh, our young grandmaster, and Gukesh is a player who does not use engine as yet, and he's so dedicated that you really fall in love with this kid. The nurturing of such a young talent so beautifully makes me really respect Vishnu. Vishnu has achieved a lot as a player and as a coach. Let's get started with his games. I will show to you two games today. One will be a complete game to understand a concept and the second will be from a diagram position for our masala. So the first game was played in 2015. White is Mu K, black is Vishnu. It was the Al in open and the white player is also a strong one. He is having a rating of 2400 above. So let's get started. D4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, d5. So we see the Grunfeld on the board. Queen b3, d into c4, queen into c4, bishop e6 attacking the queen, queen b5 check, bishop d7. Here white played queen b3. The point is that in this position, the first question which comes to our mind is what happens for queen b7. But here black plays knight c6 and black has reasonable compensation here. So this is a part of the opening, so we'll not get into the detail of this. But white played queen b3. So black played c5, d into c5. And in this position, it is completely possible to play bishop c6. But most players here go either bishop g7 or knight a6. So basically, black sets up a trap for white. So knight a6 was played in the game and black says, okay, if you want to take the b7 pawn, take it. So in the game, white played queen into b7 and this is the trap black wanted white to fall into. Now this move is not good and the usual way to play in this position is queen a3. But in this game, white thought, why not capture the pawn? So this game is very important to understand the concept of why not to grab a pawn in the opening, and also very interesting for us to know that when we have a doubt, set a trap for opponent. For example, after d into c5, black could have played a normal move bishop c6, but Vishnu and other players in similar situation play knight a6, they set a trap and they want white to capture the b7 pawn. So queen b7 was played, knight c5. Now this game is a very good example to understand what can go wrong when somebody goes pawn hunting early in the game. Queen b4 was played, e5. So in this position, black is threatening to play knight d3 next and the queen on b4 will be lost. So white must move the queen. White played queen h4 and black played bishop e7. So we see that black is developing. At the same time, black is troubling the white queen and telling him, move, move, you just move away. So black is getting a tempo over the white queen. White played bishop g5 here. Rook b8 attacking the b2 pawn. Bishop into f6, bishop into f6. We see the white queen again attacked. So white played queen c4 and he attacks the c5 knight. Black played queen a5 Very interesting to note in this position is that all white's pieces are sitting in their original squares except for the queen, which is just hopping from left to right, and the c3 knight, which is now pinned. So white played rook b1, supporting the pawn on b2, rook b4 continuing to harass the queen, queen d5, and here black played e4. After e4, black is threatening to take bishop into c3, and the rook on b1 is the reason. I mean, the pawn is pinned, the pawn on b2 is pinned because the rook on b1 is hanging. So white will not be able to capture, because if white captures back, the rook is going. And for example, after e4, if here white plays a move like e3, we clearly see that bishop into c3 is winning for black, because after b into c3, rook into b1 is winning. And after e4, if white goes queen d2, rook into b2, rook into b2, bishop into c3 is completely lost. So after e4, white resigned here. It's very interesting to note that in the final position, white is actually up in material, but none of white's pieces are playing, and the full king side pieces of white are untouched. They have not even come out. So this is a very good example to understand why we need to develop our pieces, why it is dangerous to go pawn hunting in the opening. In this game, white being a strong player still lost in 16 moves. So a great example for us. Don't go pawn hunting in the opening. Develop your pieces. That's most important. This position is from a game played in 2015 in Gibraltar Masters. White is Vishnu Prasanna, black is Emil Sutowski, another very strong grandmaster. The moment I saw this game, I really liked it, and I decided that this game has to come in my Masala Chai series. It's really amazing. And one striking thing about this position is it's very, very different from what I've shown till now. I've always shown some middle game positions where one side is checkmating the other, but this is an end game, but it is still very, very beautiful. So in this position, white has two good choices. So white can play either e5 or he can play bishop a3. So e5 looks simple, very direct, not much calculation, but I guess there's some counter attack black has with the move f6. So Vishnu decided to play a very, very interesting move. They say, when in doubt, set a trap. So bishop a3 is a very fantastic move, and the point is that it is setting a trap for the opponent to fall into. And the main question which we all must have in our mind is, what's happening if black captures the b2 pawn? So for example here, if black takes bishop b2 and we take back, black can take our knight on e7. So why is Vishnu giving the pawn? So this is a question which you can think about. It's a very interesting point already to pause and think, but I will go forward two moves. Bishop b2. It's important to understand that if black does not capture, white will simply play rook d7 next, and white will have the rook on the 7th rank, attack the b7 pawn with a very nice position, and knight f6 does not stop rook d7 because white just plays e5 and rook d7 next move. So the critical move definitely is bishop b2, and here Vishnu took bishop into b2, rook into e7. Now this is my masala chai moment. I'm going to sip my masala chai while I want you to think, what did Vishnu have in mind? What did he play next? Well done if you found the beautiful move Rook D8. White is exploiting the position of the black king. So here black played Rook C7. If instead black goes for F6, the problem is Bishop A3, Rook F7, and now Rook G8. The idea is Bishop F8, and this is unstoppable. So in the game, black played Rook C7, Rook G8. That was the idea of Rook D8, a brilliant idea. Rook D7, Bishop G7 check, King G6, and here Vishnu finished off in style with F5. Now what is F5? The idea of F5 is white is clearing the way for the bishop to come to F4. So for example, if black takes E into F5, Bishop E5 check, King H6, Bishop F4. It's a checkmate. And we see how beautifully white made the F4 square available for its bishop. So F5, if King G5 here, again we see the idea of transferring the bishop to F4. So Bishop E5 check, King H6, Bishop F4. It's a checkmate. So after F5, black resigned. This is an excellent example where a rook and bishop are just enough to checkmate the black king. I hope you all enjoyed watching the games of Grandmaster Vishnu Prasanna. Yesterday he celebrated his birthday, so here's wishing him a belated happy birthday, lots of happiness and success in life. I also want to mention that today happens to be the birthday of Sandeepan Chanda, a grandmaster whose games we have already seen. And for those of you who have missed his games, we already have 2 episodes of Masala Chai